Hey everybody, what's going on? Emo Tempest here, back with a new deck profile for you guys. Mono Ice. Things have been getting chilly. No, I'm just kidding. We saw Mono Ice have some success at Worlds, and I'm glad to see it, honestly. I was in charge of trying to crack this deck a little bit for those matchups for our team, and I think this is where I landed towards the end of it. I know you're gonna be like, hold up, why is Barnabas in here? We'll talk about the icons in a second, and the dominance. But before we get there, as always, guys, if you learn something here or you like something, don't forget to drop a like, sub, and share it along your groups and your discords. It means a lot to me. But yeah, so Mono Ice at Worlds, it happened. It got top 8. Well, one of the decks, deck B, I believe, was in the top 8, but I know there was more around there, right? Because all of my friends that I had over there were talking about Mono Ice and how Mono Ice was around, and Mono Ice performed well. It's no surprise to me, really, why Shiva and Jill Shiva is a really good card. G the Leader is a fantastic card. This new Kurosame is also a very good card. And Mateus is also a very good card. We got some good cards for Ice. Ice has been getting slowly been getting better over the last few sets. It definitely has not been as strong as it has been back in the heyday when we were all just playing turbo discard, but it's got some really cool cards and some cute techs that I think I understand. Like, I understand why I probably would have chosen it to go into Worlds as well. I don't know if it would have been my deck choice at the end of the day, but I can see why, right? And we'll talk about that as well. So we're gonna break down these cards, and I'm gonna go over the strategy a little bit, right? So first off, this deck will not survive if you don't get to 5 backups. Because Ice is one of the slower of the 6 monocolor decks, it definitely needs to get to that point, right? So we're actually gonna start backwards this time for that reason. So Amina's, I cannot play 3. I clog every time. The Leader at 3 is for sure, because it's what's gonna help us speed up. This Kefka is a big sleeper for some people, but the ability to duel and freeze on command every turn or on your opponent's turn when you reach 5 is too strong. Between that and Kuja, forget about it. It's going to be your biggest facilitator for just keeping away everything and getting ready to close out the game, which is something that I believe Ice has had a lot of problems with over the last few sets. Quistis, it's not as good as Ricard, but it's pretty darn good. So reveal 4, grab an Ice card. Pretty simple. We just want to dig till we get either the backups or whatever it is we're missing. Torgal. I could probably argue that this could be at 2 because we're not playing Clive, but we'll talk about the dominance, like I said, in a little bit. But for now, 3 Torgal. Main reason is we like Jill at 1, which means if Jill's at 1, then Shiva, priming into Shiva is also cheaper, right? And that's probably the main reason I take advantage of it in this list. So I definitely like Celestia, Shinryu Celestia. I've always found that Ice cards are notoriously weaker, or for some reason more susceptible to every other than every other element, right? They do not stick around as long. That should be said. I found that Celestia, when we get there, is a great card to fix that problem, right? We know Earth and a lot of other cards just get really big and they get troublesome. Ice doesn't do that very often. Celestia makes everyone potentially troublesome, and I think it's a very good card. Unfortunately, it lacks the same problem that Kefka does. You need to have 5 Ice backups. So when stuff like Titus or Leviathan hit the board, things get dicey, but they're good in the meantime, right? So Juggler is just a solid backup. One of the combos, if you guys don't know, you Luso. You Luso on your turn, hold Juggler to your opponent's turn. If they try to attack, you juggle and pump Luso, but really it's just, hey, don't attack. Next turn, I'm gonna dull free something with Shiva, with Jill, and then I'm gonna prime and hit you. So Juggler's been a great card. I love that he's full art for no reason. Like, I know it's just one of these FFTA cards but he's really cool looking full art, so I have to play one. 2 armors. I've talked about why I brought this out down to 2 from 3 before. I just feel like my backup should do something, and this deck is no exception to that as well. Ice already is limited by a lot of its card pool. We don't want to limit the potential abilities we can capitalize off of by having two just, yes, they are free, but they're dead. And I don't like that, so we keep it at 2 armors and 2 Unalescas. I think discard control, there is a point where Ice gets to every time that discard control is very good. You get them down to top decking, and if they're not playing, they're discarding, so they'll never get past 2 cards. So the earlier you can get to that phase, the stronger Unalesca gets. But all in all, making your opponent discard before you do anything is also very strong, right? You never want to worry when you're counting cards about whether they have enough for a Mott or a Mist Dragon or whatever. You just change those numbers. So we're gonna skip the summons, go to the forwards, and we'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, so 1 Sephiroth, again, sometimes we just need removal and a little extra discard. He does this. It's not a bad card. I like that I can cast it on my opponent's turn and then play it on my turn. So there is that ability. If you guys don't know what I mean, it's just the way his rulings say you can cast it again until the end of your next turn. And your next turn would be after your opponent's turn if you choose to remove him on their turn, right? Because he's a hand trap. So Jill, again, just pretty straightforward. 3 duel and freeze a forward. We love that. We love it even more at 1, right? So if your opponent attacks and then plays a forward, then you just duel freeze the other forward, and then you prime, you make them discard or whatever. Now, Barnabas, because I'm sure you guys have been wondering, Barnabas is the dominant / icon I wanted to showcase for this version. But disclaimer, you can swap this out with whichever one you prefer. If you like Clive, or if you like what's his name, Bahamut, right? They all work well. The reason I left Barnabas in for this video was because this is where I stopped testing this deck, because Worlds had already happened and we've started moving on. But Barnabas closes the heck out of this game with this. So when you have control of being able to duel and freeze things, and you can attack 4 times, it speeds things up. And Ice doesn't have anything like that. So I've had a lot of fun. I'll emphasize that word for you guys. I had a lot of fun with Barnabas in this deck. But again, you can switch, the Odin Barnabas package for, I'm blanking on his name, but Bahamut, Dion, sorry, and then or Clive and Ifrit. Clive Ifrit is probably the most optimal because it has a lot of potential, but it also has a bigger downfall. What I mentioned backup control in some of my other videos, and if they lift Torgal and you don't have another way to prime, then you need to spend CP to cast Torgal again before you can prime with do the whole Clive thing, right? Clive Ifrit thing. Having Dion or Barnabas out, you have free fodder for Unalesca in a weird way, right? Because you can't do anything else with extra dark cards. But Barnabas is cheaper to prime, and Odin is also cheaper to play for haste and a 4-drop that has first strike, right? We don't talk about how good Odin is because he's just 410k. He's Warrior of Light with a little less different kinds of abilities, right? I could argue, right? So that anybody could cast. And so I think just being able to do that, and when you prime either one of these 2, you can reduce something by 8, hopefully trigger your Shiva, and you're in a good day, right? You're having a good spot, having a good time. Now the biggest downfall to these guys, and I technically same thing with Ifrit, is just the EX just ruins everything, right? So take it with what you will, but the 6 slots here for the dominant icon is your choice. Mine, just for this video, was Barnabas because, again, when you have everything on dull frozen and attacking 2 times, it works really well. And so Rinoa into Jill, Rinoa into a non-prime Shiva is very good as well. Rinoa into Kurosame is probably my favorite. Shantoto, same thing. Just a good way to deal with all of these. Being able to reuse some of these effects are very strong, very helpful. You have Shantoto again, when you're discarding, being able to get at 1, get your character back for 1 CP is great. I don't have a way to generate crystals, which I always hate, because that last ability is so very underutilized sometimes. But we can get that into that at another time. So if you find a way to squeeze it in, then go for it. If not, whatever. 1 Rufus, just again, you need an extra dual freeze, an extra discard, something like that to help push the game forward. This does it for you. Ishtola is the same way. Good removal, solid things. Kurosame, not a bad draw engine kind of card too. When he enters the field, choose up to the same number of characters your opponent controls as backups you control, freeze them, right? So you can freeze his backups, and the next turn you can potentially draw if they have 4 more dual characters. So whatever you don't freeze, they have to tap. You could cast something, or play a Jill, freeze, then attack, draw a card. The reason I'm playing 2 of him is, yes, for that effect. We are also going to be able to S with the Kurosame 7. Now, the main thing about Ice is if you are able to get to 5, drop Kurosame, freeze everything, they draw a pass, and then you Kate Sith into freeze everything, discard, you're really good. These are your plays, right? These are the closers for Ice, right? And that's why people were, or I thought, we were getting there with this list. And being able to just discard 5 or something, up to 5 on other decks is just detrimental as well, right? Like most players hold their stuff in those certain matchups, like water, wind, water, something. We need to get rid of all that stuff. Yes, a mod sucks, but who cares, right? He's gonna live no matter what. So, and then you can just bounce with the Renoa. So, next is Shiva. Shiva is just the icon that we're moving into, and yeah, that's it for the forwards. Next, we have 1 of the Shiva, 3 Mateas, 2 old school Zaleras, and 4 of the free Shivas. These are pretty self-explanatory, though. This Shiva is just free recursion to make sure you have you can get your icon out and do the thing. Just get everything out of the way, don't lose kind of card. This one is actually is more of a tech card, I think, and as much as I want to say it's your flex pick, you definitely need to consider holding on to this for certain matchups, right? You don't have solid removal as much as you would in any other card, in any other deck color, category, type, whatever you want to say. So these gives you a little versatility into the 3 drops. That's exactly why I'm playing Zalira, Death of Seraph. With all this dual freeze going on and needing to kill 2 or more forwards, Zalira shines, right? If we can just kill 2 bodies with 1 spell, trigger a discard at the end of the turn, we're in a really good spot. And this Shiva is just great too. Same thing, right? You play Jill, dual and freeze one thing, free cast Shiva, dual and freeze the other. Boom. Now I'm gonna prime. I drew, make you discard, and you've lost 2 forwards. This is the deck, guys. I've worked on it. Your matchups are always going to be tough, though, right? And that's the problem with Ice. Yes, if I think it has a good chance into Mono Earth, but that is contingent on you A, getting your 5 backups, B, probably getting there before them, which is difficult because their backup streamline is maxed efficiency at 100%. And then obviously the occasional not getting Kusith or Tyrode on damage 1, 2, or 3, right? And I'm not to say that that's like I could say that for every deck or every matchup, but Ice suffers more because it doesn't do what every other deck does. And so that's where we were, right? Into your other games, this is fun. This is fine. This works. Again, test Barnabas, test Dion, test Clive. Just be wary of all of the things I mentioned, right? If you're playing Clive, you don't lose your Torgal or it sucks. When you have these guys, obviously be careful with the color clog, but you have Unaleska for that. The Kefka and the Shinryu are very important in the Mono Earth matchup because that'll deter them from taking Torgal or one of the other ones, and that's why I have them, right? Because the backup control that these meta tier 1 decks whatever have is mitigated when you have more backups that do better things, right? And that kind of makes them have to play into your cards, right? And so while they're doing that, you have discard, you have Barnabas coming in, or Odin coming in for 2-3 points of damage. Yeah, that's the deck. So let me know if you guys test this out. Let me know what you guys would change, and just let me know if I'm full of it. The limit breaks is pretty self-explanatory. You have two Surges, one Victoria, Kuja, Luso, Kate Sith. You could cut a Kate Sith and put in a Victoria, but I like double casting Kate Sith. Like I like double casting Montleonis's or Titus. So that's me. You'd change it if you like. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, thank you for listening. Have a good one. See you on the next one.